careful of those island boys. Little girl, use your head. They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no, no.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Rumbi.
Welcome to It's Layered.
We're in a long-distance friendship that started over 20 years ago when we were in high school.
We'll be talking about all things life, love, family, anything and everything else under the sun.
Delve deeper with us because in life, you know, Gine, my layers.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no.
Oh my gosh, Rumbi, seeing you again this year.
3 times a year, unheard of. We literally made up for every single year, COVID year.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Definitely. I can't believe seeing you now at this special time of the year. Christmas is so nice.
I know. It's been so great to be here in Hamburg, in Germany.
Mhm.
And I think we're both marveling at how our Christmases have been very different to if we had gone home. We've got family back home and I think it's a little different.
Yeah, we're finding ourselves a bit lucky.
Yeah.
And I know when we did have Christmas, our gender roles episode dropped, and that was such a timely thing because, man, being home is so different for males versus females.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think also going home, you know, you can never go empty-handed. So beyond just the ticket to get there, there's so much more that's expected of you. You hear people talking about Christmas box, you know, what does that mean? So we just thought we would delve today on a topic that I think a lot of us can relate to. And it's a very touchy subject, to put it lightly.
As always with us.
Yeah, as always. Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
Black tax. Yeah.
Black tax. Blackity black.
How do you define black tax?
Yo, I defined, well, if you think about tax, it's something that you are obligated to do even though you don't enjoy doing it. So when you get that paycheck and then they cut out like however, like 20%, however much, depending where you come from, it's you would love to keep that 20%, but you have to give it. You're obligated to do so. Yeah. So for me, black tax is that obligation because of being a part of the Black community, African community, to support others. If you are able to take care of yourself relatively well, you should do so for others. That's how I would define it.
No, definitely. And I do think it's somehow steeped in Ubuntu because it's like, well, if you're doing well, everyone also has to do well. So we have to try and lift each other up. Yes. And I think it's just one of those things that's definitely expected once you start getting your paycheck to always give back. The only thing that's annoying about it, like the word tax is because it sometimes feels forced. Yeah. Like it goes beyond gifting. Yes. So let's get into it.
I think, similar to Rora, our discussion where we talked about it would be different if it was just a gift. I think black tax brings a whole nuanced another level to it. But where would you say it originated from, this idea of black tax?
Ooh, I think like everything else you talked about before, colonialism and slavery keep coming up. But I do think that's where it originates from. I think it originates from, you know, people who came before us working hard to get us to another level. Yes. So it's almost like, okay, you still have to give back. And also the social systems we have, not being able to take care of our own old people in our communities. So then we end up having to, and also in a family, if you're the one who gets employed into a rich company or whatever, and your siblings aren't, it's like, okay, how do you balance that out? Yeah. So I think it comes from disparity, definitely.
Absolutely, like not having generational wealth. Typically in Black communities, that's a foreign concept and idea. So because there's no like passing on, it often happens that children have to take care of their parents financially, not just like for health reasons, but like financially and beyond just parents' community as well. And I think it's something that's felt in most Black communities world over. Actually, any community which was a minority that was oppressed and has had a shorter span of success in their communities, that would, I think, typically be found there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Why though? Why do you think, I mean, you've already kind of answered it, but why do you think it still functions?
Because there's still inequality. Inequalities still exist. And as long as inequalities still exist, they're going to be haves and have-nots. And as long as there are have and have-nots, because we have the notion of Ubuntu, we've spoken about this many times on this podcast, you help each other. And as Amanda said, you have to uplift each other. Also, it's a bit selfish to eat alone.
Yeah.
Even though I think culturally, when you go kumusha to the rural areas and there's a meal, you typically share. And you eat together. So it's the same concept. It's like, it's not just for me. It's for everyone. It's a very thoughtful way to look at the world, I think, because it's like, makes you always think about others. I've had situations where, I give or donate, or I've donated, and like people are like, oh, you're so kind for donating. And these were like white counterparts. And I'm like, oh, I'm just so used to, like, it's so normal for me. And I think it's normalized in the Black community to give and share. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it does help massage the guilt a little bit. Like, because you do feel guilty. I mean, even me and Rimby just started this episode saying our Christmases are so different because we know our fellow sisters are out there, like,
laboring.
It's like, okay, if I can't be there physically to assist, at least financially, you've got, a placeholder. I'm there in spirit. Essentially, that's, you're like putting your mark. Even if it's a funeral and you're handing over some money, you're like, I'm not there I can't fly over, but here you go. So it's like, I think it functions because we're not there. We live apart from our families. It's 100%. So common. So you're still saying I'm part of the family.
Yes, I'm still part of it, and I'm still supporting. What would you say that's a pro or con? And what are some of the other pros and cons of this?
I sometimes when I feel a bit bitter, I got more cons. Like
I think inevitably.
I think the pros, again, like what we just talked about, staying part of the community, part of the family. I think the cons for me come from expectations. They come from, when it's a gift, right? No one knows it's coming. No one counts on it. No one knows the amount. But I feel like when it's Black tax, usually it ends up being a set amount you send every month. And if you don't, for any reason, it's like a problem because people then depend on it. So I hate that dependency it gives. I also think if people give begrudgingly, is that really giving? So that's a con for me, like not giving with your whole heart. I also don't like the power money has over people. So someone feels like, oh, I give a lot to this family, I have a lot of say.
Absolutely.
So that's a huge con for me. Like, so there's a lot of, it's all tied to the financial nitty-gritty parts of it.
And
not
power.
The community.
And also, I think another con is when people connect with you, are they connecting with you because they actually like you or actually want to get to know you or are actually concerned about you? Or are they concerned about what it means to be in your good books and how that works favorably for them? A movie that came out during the Christmas period was Glass Onion. If anyone hasn't seen it, Knives Out, it's on Netflix. And that's on a much larger scale, but I could so relate watching it where people stay within your frame of reference because of what you can offer and afford them. And I think it's a very difficult place to be because it's like, do people genuinely like me or do they like me for what I bring to the table? So that can be a con. And we've spoken about transactional relationships. It's a very twisted thing where it's like, I support you because of what you give me, and I have your support because of what I give you, and this back and forth. Is it healthy? No. Things like that. So that's definitely a con. I think a pro is definitely, as mentioned, helping the community at large, and I've seen it with our own relatives being able to go to school as a result and move their lives forward, which is what you want. We all want to move forward. I think the tricky part is when it becomes this thing of expecting handouts. We've spoken, Amanda and I, about NGOs back in Zim, where it's like you hand out, and then it creates a dependency as opposed to helping you
uplift your own self. Yeah. And I think also within the actual nuclear families, there can be some rivalry there.
Yes.
Because it could be like, oh, my uncle's in UK and he sends more money than the uncle in,
Yeah.
or even the uncle who's still in Zim and is the older one of the family. So typically he should be the one with the say.
Yes.
But there's a younger one who's got the money. And then, so I feel like family dynamics also shift because of black tax.
1000%.
A lot of times. And I mean, it brings me to my next question to you. Within a Zimbabwean context, because obviously a lot of people who listen to our podcast are not, some of them are not Zimbabwean.
Yeah.
How do you think specifically when it comes to Zimbabwe, black tax has evolved or is?
Has it evolved?
Or applies?
I think it's become more and more expected with times getting tougher and it's getting harder to sustain yourself. So I think it's become incredibly layered, and there's this expectation of like, you will get me out of my sort of situation. And I think, oh man, it's a touchy subject. I think it gets hard when the thank yous become almost few and far between. Yeah. Even though the sacrifice is that you're expected to make gets higher and higher. Yeah. And it's this warped thing. It's like, do you ever have moments where you're like, how did I sign up for this?
Yeah,
like,
how did I get here? How did I get here?
Like, when did I?
How did I allow this?
Yeah. So just like adulting, it's just like, whoa, it just it takes you by surprise. And this expectation. And the thing is, with the expectations, they're often unsaid. And then you just you realize it in a moment of like, why am I being expected to do something so demanding? And it's like, oh, in their mind, it's like, duh, you're supposed to do this. Like, the times have changed. It's not the same. It's not as easy. I don't know. I could go on, but
I think for me, with the Zimbabwean context, it's even like broader, like because our economy got so bad, we became even more heavily reliant on this. Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I know some countries like South Africa still have it, who do probably do financially better, but I just feel like I wish we got to use our own skills and not heavily rely on black tax. So sometimes you're sending something to someone and they're like, oh, I want $10. And you're like, hey, but sending you $10 is
gonna
like
cost me.
Yeah. But you know that $10 will like change their like, so it's so funny because I think it's even worsened by our economic situation. And I just think these are the things we didn't think about when it was actually happening, when Zim was actually turning. We didn't think of these long-term effects. And I feel like now with Zimbabweans especially, we're heavily reliant.
Absolutely.
You know, if Mukuru and World Remit and all them shut down, our country would literally shut down.
I was talking to someone the other day, I think I was saying, Zimbabwe would be a failed state without the support of people sending money home, because I think that is what sustains. And I think that's why, as much as there's a lot of friction and tension, borders will always remain open. They will allow people in and out because they know that is the cash flow. That's a cash cow.
Yeah, it is.
It's what brings in a lot of the cash into the country.
Oh, for sure.
So it's like warped. So would you say it's gotten better or worse?
Well, for Zimbabwe, definitely worse. For Zimbabwe, definitely worse. I feel like, or maybe it's worse for me, because as you get older, again, more responsibilities. You know, it's like, oh, you know how it is, you know, raising a child in this country. How do you expect me to do it? So then you feel sorry, right? Because as a mother, you're also like, oh, imagine I was there. Yeah. You know, whereas before, when you're a child, your parents kind of cover you. And I think as you get older, those covers become less and less.
And I think we ought to say, you know, not just to seem like we're complaining, but I've also been on the other end. I've been in Zim when you really are trying and you want to make your way out, but the opportunities, the jobs, the resources, the investment for you to elevate yourself or move forward in your life are so limited, and it's so frustrating. So I've been on the other end where you're just like, will it ever end? Will I ever get out of this? And if people are just like, well, you figure it out yourself, it feels very heartless and cold.
And how?
And so, and I feel very deeply, especially for youth, and especially for young people who grew up with all this, go to school or feeling the hope of like, if I study hard, if I work hard, I will have a good life. And then feeling like you actually worse off. And I think a lot of us feel worse off than our parents were at this stage in their lives. It really is a pro is in when you can help others. I was helped. It was through the help of others that I even was able to get out of there, and I hope to return the favor. So in cycles like that, I think it can be really beautiful, and I understand. But I think it gets complicated when it's not appreciated.
Yeah. Or not used for what it's used for. Like, I mean, I've got plenty of friends who are like, oh, I sent money for them to go to some exam or sit for their O-levels. Then you hear, oh, no, I didn't make it. And it's like, okay, so what did you use the money for? And if they had already something else they rather would have paid for, then just be honest. But I think they know if they're honest, then they won't get it. So I think it's like communication becomes so vital. Because I think resentment grows when someone thinks, I'm sending you money, but you're not using it the right way, or we're not where I thought we would be. A year later, you're still asking me for money, but where are these projects you're saying you're doing?
Can I ask you this question, though? Do you feel that if you are giving to help someone, you're entitled to know the progress and to have a say on how someone moves and progresses once they receive your financial assistance?
I think for Black tax and gifting, that's the difference.
Got you.
I think for gifting, like Christmas, you know, you send your gifts, you're like, oh, you know, Christmas box, buy yourselves whatever, or don't, or whatever you want to do. You don't. But I think with Black tax, if it's something consistent, like someone approaches you and says, I want to go to school, I'm going to NAST, and this is the fees. And then they don't pass at the end of it, or they don't go at the end of it. You're like, you do. That's where the word tax kind of, because even if you think about tax in the Western world, they have to tell you where the tax is being used.
That's true.
On the roads and schools, for social services, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like that's the that's the key.
Then who should have more of a say? So for example, if your uncle is supporting your education.
Yes, let's go there.
And you have your parents who birthed you, clothed you to some degree, but now your uncle's holding down the fees and payment of that. Who should you be answering to?
You know, I think that's where the sibling rivalry starts to, because I think you'd hope that uncle and parents on the same.
But what if they're different? Uncle wants you to be an engineer. Your parents are like, I want you to be, I don't know, a businessman. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
I feel like because
who has a better
capitalist world, it ends up being the person with the money. Because your parents, if they withdraw their support, it doesn't change your situation. It doesn't change. But if your uncle has the money, says, oh, you want to go to Czech? Well, no. And then you're like, oh, you're not going. So I feel like the person who's going to change the trajectory is the one.
So then it completely shifts relationships.
Completely. That's just why I was saying before, sibling rivalry is a big thing. Like, people will be like, oh, they earn more money, so they... You know, even some funerals, people will be like, oh, waiting for uncle Ningi. And you're like, so this person's just going to wait in the mortuary until
someone sends
the person with the mullah comes to buy the casket, to buy the...
You're right.
It's late. It's
so layered. Like, just thinking of that family dynamic, like who says what and how and why and who. It'd be deep.
Do you think then it becomes a burden or investment? Saying, especially using the uncle thing you brought up, which was a good example.
Black tax, is it a burden or investment? You know what, with investments, you know, there's risk and reward, right? High risk, and then there can be high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. Sometimes it's high risk, low reward, or no reward. But I think you have to almost look at it as investment, hope for the best, also long-term versus short-term. If you look at it in that light, then if someone doesn't pass an exam or a series of an exam, short-term, it sucks, but long-term, are they going to go a different field? Do you get what I mean? And I think it's an investment if something comes out of it in the long run, typically long run. And then it's a burden when nothing comes out of it.
Typically, like when someone, you know, stands on their own 2 feet, then it's a good investment. Right? Then they can now possibly help someone else in the family. Because imagine, this is not a family of 2 people. There's lots of people to help.
But then it can be a huge burden when you feel like you're just flashing down the toilet.
You know, remember you spoke about when you're in Zim and needing that chance, and that was, you feel for people. I think I can also relate in terms of the other way, where your Zimbabweans were out of Zim and you feel the pressure to help. I know a lot of people have taken credit cards, loans, killed themselves. Some people, suicide is real in the diaspora space as well, because people build up this image of, oh, I'm doing so well here, you know, and then they want to keep up reality. They want to send money home and help everyone, and that's what's expected. And so I feel like there's also, again, communication is vital, because sometimes we can't keep up and sometimes we can't send you that money. And it's not...
Doesn't mean you're failing.
That's the thing. And because some people expect as soon as you move, you start sending money. But it's like, really, it takes a lot to rebuild your life from scratch.
Yeah, for sure. And I know I had that experience when I moved, and then, you know, now you're away from where things happen, and events were happening back home and weddings. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I'm sorry, I can't make it. And people look at you like, huh? But and it's like, no, you have to have you're so right about that. And I think you touched on something really crucial, is our lack of communication. I think people look at people who are in the diaspora, and we looked at a TikTok the other day and we spoke a little bit about it, where, you know, you're forgotten about. It's like, oh, she's there, she's fine, and you are in want of nothing. And that there's this weird perception that if you are in a seemingly better space or world or place, you need nothing, no matter. They don't count for loneliness. They don't count for being support network, being an outsider, you know, there's so many things you have to navigate. And I think this perception, you know, when people land we are from London. When they land, you're expecting them to show you the bling bling, the latest this, buy me that, do this. And I think sometimes we do a disservice by trying to maintain that image of you know, from all these places. And I think it also stems from our culture. Communication has never been something we're good at.
Real honest communication
is not is not something. So then we sometimes do a disservice to ourselves, you know, definitely. So it is really layered. Like, we can look at it as a burden, but also like, how are we clear about our situation? And money is tricky. To talk about.
It almost becomes case by case. Like, you win some, you lose some. You know, literally like an investment. It is like, okay, you know, I made money from that. Oh no, that didn't work. But it's sad that it becomes so monetary, and that's the only way you can help.
1000%.
I think that's the thing that also gets me. That it's like, okay, can I give you my time instead? But it's like, no, we want the money. And also, some people want the money with no consequence. Like, just send it to me, and say, but like, what are you doing with it? What are you? So I think that also,
they don't want to answer they won't answer the messages now when you're checking in. Saka, how did the project go? So why does it affect people of color the most? I think we already kind of touched on it.
The disparity, the generational wealth loss. We don't have that yet. The pressure of the Ubuntu, that's the other side of it, that we have to help each other. You can't just go to England and forget about the rest of us, you know. So I think it just, it also affects us because we think beyond our nuclear family. So at a funeral, typically everyone goes to help, everyone pitches in, everyone. So now when it becomes financial, right? When you leave the country, because again, as I said before, you're not there to physically be there.
To offer physical
whereas I think Western is very individual. Like, I remember, you know, I've been to funerals for friends in the Western culture, and it's like, they plan everything, they do everything, and then everyone else just rocks up on the day and leaves. You know, you get a few people who help clean up maybe on the day,
bring some
but
food,
it's not
maybe.
it's not even guaranteed. Whereas for us, you can count on it. So I think because of the way we live our lives, the collective theory, it just feeds into it.
And I think it also ties to other elements we've often spoken about on this here podcast, like patriarchy. Like religion, because religion is very much used as, and you can't think about yourself alone, you need to think of everyone else, even if it's at the expense of you. So there's all that starts infiltrating and beyond just the disparity for centuries that we've experienced. It's like, it'd be deep.
Do you think then it does definitely hinder generational wealth?
What is generational wealth in the Black community? No, truly.
Yeah, no, truly.
I mean, sure,
Truly.
yes, there's some families that are wealthier and like, you know, it's kind of moving on. But as a collective, on a broader scale, what is it? What is it? Can we even say we've really achieved it? I think not.
Yeah.
Not the way it's been done by non-blacks.
And also there's an idea of ownership. What do we own? You know, so then we can have generational, even inheritance.
Their own land.
You know?
Farms.
Yeah, but like, yeah, can we then pass on our inheritance that actually does then make money for the next and next?
Land is invaluable, Amanda. It's invaluable. The farms are invaluable. They will last forever.
But not everyone can be a farmer.
Oh,
or
everyone can.
Farmer.
No, everyone can farm. Amanda, get it right.
No. Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, I don't know.
Because I feel like even when you, like we spoke about how people would typically do it. I think even when you're in diaspora and you keep dipping into your savings.
Bruh.
Dipping into your savings. How are you going to then, with these things that we I mean, apart from if you send a stipend or a certain amount to your parents, but for all these other auxiliary things like Ningi needs this, that person needs that, you're gonna be dipping into, you can't all can come under miscellaneous on a budget. On some.
Do you think white people have under their monthly budget for uncertainties, meaning family might holler and be like, I need to send. No, they have like budget for like uncertainties, like, oh, maybe the car needs a new tire.
Yeah, we have the car needs a new tire, and
yes. So, oh Lord Jesus. And then on top of that, for us, we must have a wedding, all right? But before you have the wedding, you have to do the rora. So you have to have budget for the rora. He's paying the actual I also want the engagement ring. Then you want the party. Now the party, you can't have 10 people. It's a problem. It causes issues. Ask me. I've been there. So I need to pay for all that. And then when all is said and done, I need to be still supporting on top of me having the monthly budget for the tire puncture.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Oh, we can go through a whole pandemic, but I still want my stipend.
Yes.
Like, oh,
doesn't matter what happened with work.
You're working from home now, or you reduced hours. But for me, it's still like, what do you expect me to do? And because, as Rimbi said before, we get the amenities. People think we're already a step above, right? My lights will probably always be on. My heat will always be on. So I am better. But there's stuff you can't equate, like familial support. If I couldn't pay rent, I can't come and live with Rimbi. You know what I mean? Like huh? So it's, whereas when you're in Zim, that's so normal. People come and live with you forever and never say a word.
Yeah. And you can't ask them when they leave it. You just have to be like,
what they're contributing to the household, nothing. Because it's so normalized. So I feel like there's so many things, even daycare, childcare. I'm thinking of it as a parent. You know, you can get people to take care of your kids for free. That's a notion that's unheard of over here. Unless it's your actual nuclear family. If you don't have family, then
it's a wrap.
If you didn't move with your family, then you're paying for every single thing.
It's a wrap.
So,
and I think something else too, I may be able to send this money, but do you know how hard I am working for each penny?
Exactly.
That part and every penny.
And you want to laugh at me for working that hard, because people, let's not act like, sometimes people will be like, oh, you do these jobs, oh, you're doing my shifts. And they're laughing as if some of them, they've never experienced it. And you're like, how can you laugh at a concept you've never done?
Exactly.
Yes, I am wiping people's asses in these countries to send
but it's
money.
Feeding yours.
Yeah.
That's feeding. Just put it out there.
What are you meant to do?
Does it make people dependent on it?
Oh, for sure. I think
but
that's what makes it a burden, not an investment. Because someone who's being invested in is thinking, I'm going to get to this point and then you're going to let go of the training wheel.
Okay, fine.
But I feel like the burden person is just like, this is my life.
But, okay, someone can say, but you know the situation back home is only getting worse. What am I supposed to do?
But then if let's say, okay, yeah, this is when it becomes case by case. If someone's saying, I'm doing school, please fund me, then they fail. You're like, of course, are you studying, my guy?
Savage.
The point is for you to then pass and then move on.
Yeah.
But then,
okay, what if they do pass? But there's no
jobs. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That does then happen.
Then they ask you to invest in their chicken project. And then maybe the chicken project doesn't take off. Then they're like,
goes like what it is like.
Yeah.
Right now.
And then they try to do like reselling. And then
But you see, this is also why it also is a burden on generational wealth, because any person who tells you about wealth building will tell you consistency is key. So if you can't put $2,000 away a month for whatever X amount of, you won't get to that X amount.
Yeah.
Because 1 month you're putting 200, 1 month you're putting 100, 1 month you're putting, like, it's just
100%.
And because of the problems being different for each month, right? So I feel like, it's just doomed.
So maybe then the question is, are we flawed in thinking generational wealth should be a thing at this stage in the Black community's life? Maybe our only focus should be on the upliftment from a level of poverty as Black people. Maybe we've been sold, like, buying too much into the Western dream of, like, I want to have generational wealth for my children and my children's children. But realistically, should we be actually saying, I want to uplift my people, and that is what we should be working towards as a generation, and maintain that for our children's generation, so they continue to help, and then eventually maybe most will get to a level. Are we playing ourselves?
Yeah, maybe we're shooting too far.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now I actually think deeper about generational wealth. A lot of it came off the backs of us, people of color.
Back the money. We want reparation.
Yeah, I'm thinking even in America, which is a classic example, which Black tax exists there too. A lot of them, have had cotton fields or plantations, and so we were working on their we were doing it for them.
It's
and
true.
Then now when we were all freed as slaves, we'll be doing it for us.
And maybe it was implanted in our heads by the man, so that we feel like we should be entitled to generational wealth, and then it creates tension in homes, and then disunity happens, and then we cannot fight the man.
Yeah,
because we've bought into this person, like, it's mine. I'm playing devil's advocate, of course, here. But you really start thinking about these things, and you think of how it kind of, the tension it builds within yourself, and self-torture, it takes away, because when you get that call, or that message, or that, and you're just like, my way, like,
you're like, it's 3 a.m, my guy, I'm not even playing. Let me sleep. But even like things like, you think about it even on a deeper level, where it's like, are we even taught how to manage our money? You know, because again, we've talked about this even in our other episodes, colonialism. We would thrust from this other way of life into this other way of life. And maybe we really, because sometimes you're like, can we even, everyone wants to be a farmer, as we just talked about, laughed about. But that just because that's the only way we've seen people make money who look like us.
And also it was a white man who really profiteered off farming, to be fair. Before the farm,
so everything this ties back to slavery.
Yeah, it just goes back to slavery. But I really am thinking about this and the tension of growing up, and we've spoken about the dichotomy of having cultural and then sort of Western worlds having to find a duality in our lives and existence, and the tension it has created, this back and push and pull, back and forth. And I just thought it's a good question to ask, like, are we buying a dream that was never
really ours? Yeah. Or should it be steps, like this generational wealth? If it took people from slavery to now to reap the benefits, are we only going to reap the benefits 100 or 200 years from now?
So it's not about us.
It's not about beyond us. But do you think it should continue with all of this? Black tax.
I don't think we can even come on here and say no, because
sadly,
there's no way. Like, if you think of the humanity, and maybe we've also bought into Ubuntu too much on the opposite scale. We've bought into that. But I personally believe in supporting where I can.
Yeah.
I think the hard part, this is the thing, the hard part in our Black communities, especially the African, the Zimbabwean community, is boundaries. And that is something that's incredibly difficult, not only for you to set up, but for others to accept.
No is a complete sentence.
Yes, because I think we come from a world where, what boundary? What do you mean close your door? I need some me time. No such thing. So I think that really is the saving grace of saying there's only so much I can do. And it requires having, and I think we've both had some hard conversations trying to set the boundary, and you just need to be willing to live in your truth and accept whatever the consequence is that comes with it. I do believe in helping others. I have been helped even beyond and before I was coming here. I've been helped in many, many other ways. And I think it's a beautiful thing. That's where you love and appreciate humanity. But we should also consider that help doesn't always have to be financial.
Yes, that part.
You know, help can be picking up a phone to a cousin and asking for advice. Like, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think about this? Is this a good move? Or offering that kind of advice. Help can be connecting people together who, you know, you're in this place, so-and-so is in this place. Maybe that's how you can help each other. Help can be like, oh, you seem really skilled at this, in this subject or this craft, you know, there's actually a profession out there. It's opening up the mind to say, you don't just have to be doctor, lawyer, engineer. What do you get what I mean? So maybe it's also broadening, even though it's hard, and you have to be willing to be the voice and to be shut down, possibly. And I mean, you said it yourself, think outside the box in terms of help, even checking up on our parents. Like when you're in diaspora, a cousin saying to you, I passed by the parents and I saw if they were, you know, it's like so heartwarming. Like, okay, you know, because those are the things you worry about when you're not around your family. That's
so I feel like we need to think beyond just money, and just that's the only way you can, because really that's where it all kind of starts to become a bit. Should it continue? It has to, right? Because we live in countries that don't give us good social services. So example, a lot of us send money home for our parents for health cover, funeral cover, because again, they retired and they didn't have a retirement package, or they did, but it's in Zimbabwean dollars, which then became useless. So because of the way the world worked, obviously, and until our countries also do better, governments do better, this will always continue, because it has to, otherwise people won't survive, literally. But at the same time, some of it feels very frivolous and very like, oh, you know, someone else would just do it for me. And I think that's where it starts to become problematic, where it's like, have you actually applied yourself?
I think I'm so tired. I feel like a broken record, because it's always a thing of accepting this is the country we have and the situation we have, and almost feels like helpless sometimes. And I'm tenet, man, we're tired.
No,
bruh, like it's so disheartening. And I don't think people who've grown in functioning environments can ever truly understand the burden it creates, because people look at you like, fix yourself, or like, why can't you do it for yourself? Or people look at you like, why do you have these sort of big dreams or high aspirations?
Or just stop sending the money.
It's just this, it's exhausting having to defend yourself to your people, to be like, I have to work for it. And it's exhausting to live in a functioning environment and explain, oh, I do send home money home, or it's not that easy, or it's complicated. We're tired.
Because fair enough, even in Western culture, they do look after their old people. They put them in nursing homes, or so they do, but then it's not. Ours feels more complete, feels more from scratch, feels more like, you know, all on you. And our countries and our people who run our governments don't have to answer to anything. Which really they ought to. So it's almost like, we're doing it for them, right? Which some people then say, well, if you continue to do it, it'll always... And it is true, but how do you then make a stand like, oh, we're not going to send money, and then let our people like, that's never,
because who's going to suffer? It's always going to be the ones who are not so well connected and don't have
vulnerable.
The vulnerable will always, and where our families are large and we have a lot of people across the board, so it ain't never gonna work. Only we suffer. How do we get it? I feel so defeated. Oh my goodness.
No, Black Tax is layered.
It's so layered, but I hope you guys got something of value from it. If you have any tips and suggestions, holla Black, because
and your thoughts and feelings around this, or how what I would like to know is how people have dealt with if you're in Zim and you're the one who's asking, how you deal with that. Like, do you approach it with humility? Do you approach it with like, it doesn't matter? And B, if you're the one who's sending, how do you not have resentment, or do you approach it with an open heart? And I just want to know the array of thoughts of people around.
And is it okay to ask, like, to sit down and be like, what are your expectations? This is what I can do, you know, or how do you manage? Because then when you ask, especially our elders, they'll look at you like you're mad, son. Like, you want me starving on the streets type of situation.
Especially once you start having your own kids, because now you're also thinking of investing into them. You don't have money to always just be Like, how does
And what if you
how do
say no?
balance
Are you a
it?
bad child?
Yeah.
Is your responsibility as a child to support?
Yeah.
You know, because we do, because that's what's been passed on. We've seen our parents do it. But like, if you were to be like, sorry, I can't, are you
Then what?
not a good child?
Yeah. Or do you sponsor some people or not others? And why? Or how do you choose?
Please.
Because if you come from a family of like 9 or 10, you know.
These are legitimate questions,
Yeah.
guys. It's not even funny. It's like, I'm really pondering, like, what do you do? What do you do? And then if the family disowns you because you can't support them financially.
Or just use guilt by like shouting at you about how
you're not a good child. Oh. I think we're a little scarred.
Oh God.
Anyway.
Before we go into major depression thing about this, our Zim shout out for this episode is Majiona Madzima. Her Instagram handle is @Majiona, that's MAZVIONA__.
Yes. So we thought to spotlight her. She is the strategic partner manager at YouTube. And we came across her, don't know too much about her, but have seen the work she's done with Black creators for YouTube. Recently, the class of 2022 graduated, and they created a whole graduation celebration and ceremony for that, celebrating Black creators. And we just love to see her being a catalyst and an important part of creating these opportunities for Black people in on YouTube and on such a large scale. So I think it ties in quite nicely actually with Black Tax, where it's like creating opportunities or spotlighting or highlighting Black people in different light. And I think that's what we need, our people in the relevant rooms, opening doors, saying, y'all sleeping on Black creators. Let me tell you, they're actually the ones who can do something or shifting the narrative. So we salute you, Majiona. We'd love to hear more about what you're doing and continue to shine in such a beautiful way.
Yeah. What an episode, Rumbi. Seeing you again.
I know.
You guys are probably sick of us, but to be sick of us.
No, don't be sick of us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when this episode airs, it's going to be 2023, probably be a few months into 2023.
Yeah.
But this has been such a lovely year to see Rumbi so often.
Yeah.
To just spend time, to just relax with each other's presence.
Yes. To meet her baby boy.
Yes.
He is so cute. Like,
yeah. I'm biased, but I agree.
No, there's no bias. Like, legitimately, he's like,
I just want to take a moment to thank you, Rumbi. This year would not have been the same without your support, your love, this podcast.
Yeah.
You make it so easy.
Yeah, 100%. Like, right back at you. It's been a year of high highs and low lows, milestones, and it's been a monumental year in a lot of ways for the both of us. I'm so grateful to have you by my side, literally and figuratively speaking, and just looking forward to what the year brings, but heart full of gratitude.
Yeah. So
full. Never take this for granted. And thank you always for listening. Like, we say it time and time again, but I think we always get somebody like, the people are listening.
Yeah.
You know, the downloads keep increasing and the feedback. We love this. We're doing this because we just want to create a safe space where you feel heard or understood, or where you can question some of these ideologies or just be like, oh, that was interesting. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for listening, as always.
For sure. Definitely.
Yeah. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye.
They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh.